Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Love is Blind UK Season 1, episodes 7, 8, and 9. If you
hmm
haven't looked at our other reviews, feel welcome to do so either on our podcast feed or on our YouTube channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and meet us down in the comments because we definitely want to hear your thoughts about these three episodes. All right,
hmm
we're just going to go ahead and jump in, starting with episode 7. So I started with Catherine and Freddie. They
Okay.
went on a shopping trip, which I felt was the most awkward shopping trip in the history of shopping trips.
Right. Freddie already said he don't like to be outside, and you drag this man to a women's boutique.
And then, so it seems like she was getting irritated with him for all the comments that he was making. But
hmm
then later on, she said, well, if I had a partner, I would want him to come to the shops with me. I don't, he clearly doesn't enjoy it. And I get it. Like, you have to do certain things that maybe you don't love with your partner because they love it. But I don't think, to me, shopping isn't one of those things. Like, you have your girlfriends for that, but
And
maybe it's
he
for
was
her.
trying to make the most probably of being in a
Yes.
place he really wouldn't normally be anyways. And she admitted that, well, first she said, oh, I'm not holding on to anything from the retreat, but then says, oh, but I am still easily annoyed. So you are still feeling away.
Hmm.
And to me, the joking he was doing wasn't anything crazy.
It wasn't crazy. I mean, it probably was a little bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you don't have to comment on everything I pick up. So I
Well,
could
she
see
said
her
that
annoyance.
the joking was making her feel more like a friend and not a
Friend and a
fiance.
fiance. Oh, which I found interesting. I don't know that it's the joking that's doing it. I think it's maybe
hmm
some other stuff that she
Okay.
mentions later. But when she tried to make the connection between the jokes making her feel more like a friend than a fiance, it's like, I don't know. You guys just met.
hmm
He's just trying to develop some type of lightheartedness because of all the tension. I
hmm
I don't know, but we've
Breaking
all
the ice from her moodiness.
right, but we've also all been in a situation where we're just moody and somebody breathing just sends us off. So I don't want to be
hmm
too harsh on her for this moment with the whole shopping thing.
It just felt like she was nitpicking when she was talking about, oh, well, I want my partner to come to the shops with me and enjoy it. I don't want to drag you along. And I agree with him. When you go to the malls, you see the men sitting on the couch waiting for their families to finish up doing what they need to do. I
Yeah.
mean, what he said didn't seem out of the norm.
I will say I noticed in the pods, Catherine was laughing up a storm and crying. She was laughing and crying, but
hmm
there was a lot of laughter, and so I think she came off as more playful in the pods, which he appreciated because he has a more playful personality. And so now, from going to being playful most of the time to her expectation that he's suddenly serious, I think is an unfair shift for him.
I agree. She was playful and flirty the entire
Hmm.
time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Then at the end of that shopping trip, he like rubbed her on the shoulder and she was like, I'm not a dog, don't rub me on. I was like, dang, everything is setting you off at this point, sister.
You want him to embrace you and not treat you like a friend. He tries to touch you, and now it's too much or
Yeah.
it's wrong.
She gotta figure out what she wants and articulate that to him. Okay. So he takes her to see his home and I think this is where the irritation stopped, at
Mm.
least briefly.
Yeah, she was impressed.
I
It's a
think
nice home.
she was very impressed. She could probably see herself living there. And
hmm
so then she started to warm up a little bit. A
Yeah, and
lot.
she compliments him and saying like, "Wow, like this is a big achievement for you to have this at 32 years old."
Hmm.
The doors were off the hinges, but I'm assuming that's because he's renovating them. Like it seems like he's in the process of sanding them, refinishing them. He's doing something,
Yeah.
but I hope they're fixed by now. That was
What did you think about the glitter mirror? I said, just say that a woman bought this mirror because I have never seen a man go and buy a glitter
Mhm.
mirror. He said
No,
it matched the
a woman
furniture.
probably bought it. Probably
Hmm.
someone he was dating and was thinking, "You need a full size mirror in here for me to see what I look like before I leave the house, and he agreed. It was just like, oh, pick one up for me, and it was gray like the walls and the rest of the decor. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
So,
So
so yeah, anyway, at his home was when she apologized for being snappy with him, and then he apologized for pushing her buttons, which I could see him
and
pushing.
in that moment, so as she's apologizing, though, she says basically saying, "Oh, I'm sorry for being mean." He does stop her midway,
Hmm.
and I wrote, "I wish he hadn't done that." I wanted to hear the full accountability from her,
Let
the
her
way
cook.
she's been acted. Let her finish. Don't let her
Yeah.
off the hook so easily. And
Yeah.
then here he goes jumping in like, no, him taking it. No, no, it's not you. No, it is her. So let her apologize, and then you jump in and take ownership for what you feel like you need to, but
Yeah.
don't stop her, interrupt her. So
Yeah.
I wish he didn't do that. Ugh, let
Yeah.
her cook.
Likewise. Okay. So then they went to meet with his family.
Hmm.
You know what was funny to me about this meeting? Freddie's mom says something about, Freddie, he's just so faithful and dedicated. Did you see Catherine's side eye?
She was
Like,
like, oh, this Freddie?
she must not know he cheated 7 years ago.
Of course his mother doesn't know, but she's gonna know now. But she's
Okay.
also gonna see how you've been treating her son. So
Yikes. Okay.
but yeah, I
I
enjoyed
really
the scene with the family.
same. I was gonna say the
Yeah.
exact thing. I enjoyed the scene. I think
Yeah.
Betsy Dora is adorable,
I
his
know. I like
sister.
that name.
I know it was just really cute.
And those are some strong genes. They look just alike.
Just alike.
Mama had copy paste, a beautiful looking family. And the moment when he asked his brother to be his best man, I said, Freddie, don't you have me out here crying. Do
It
not
was
have me
really
out here
sweet.
crying. That was so sweet.
It
Ugh.
was very sweet. Okay, so Freddie's sister was peeping what was going on. So
Why
she
you got
said,
my brother looking like that?
right, she said she liked the vibe, and I thought it was a good family meeting for sure. But when she pulled him to the side, one of the things she said in her interview was that she felt his energy was a lot more reserved than
Hmm.
normal. And so I think that is a big thing that if they're going to stay together, they will have to navigate. Or I think it could be the thing that maybe pulls them apart a bit.
That, and then he mentions how he was questioning if he's good enough for her. And I love how the sister was like, no, no,
Hmm.
you need to be thinking about if she's good enough for you, or maybe this just isn't the right fit. She's not the one. If you
That's,
can't be
yeah.
yourself, then how are you gonna put this act on for the next 60 plus years?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I wish it hadn't have been phrased as a, oh, good enough, good enough. Just,
Hmm.
y'all just aren't a good match. And that's okay.
Yeah.
She could be good enough, but she's just not a good match for you.
I
Um,
think it seems as though Kat is dimming his light a little bit
I would,
from what we've seen so far.
someone actually
This is
commented that on our last
the look in
video.
his eyes. He
Hmm.
already has an intense look, I think, just from his eye color,
Yeah.
but it just seems to be a sadness there
Yeah.
that we didn't see the first half of this season. So,
Mm.
and to me, if I was getting paired with someone
Hmm.
and they slowly started to look like that over the course of being with me,
You'd be
I'd be
concerned.
embarrassed.
Yeah, I would
I
too.
am.
All right, well, that was all for them at on this episode at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you want to get into Demi and Ollie?
Sure.
Okay. So it was interesting that they also started their scenes with shopping. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess they
For
were
the
shopping
dinner.
for guacamole or something like that. And I thought it was funny because we saw different reactions to the men shopping or different reactions of the women to the men shopping. So
Mm-hmm.
whereas Catherine's like, oh, I would want the man to come in the shops with me, but he would just have to act a certain way. Tim was like, okay, maybe you can play around the way you playing around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get the stuff for the. I'm gonna get what I came in here for. And of course he was like, I'm not a child. Like I can do this. I can do this. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
their energy seemed playful and light. I enjoyed it. So
Okay, I
yeah,
too enjoyed
I
it.
feel like this was the first scene. This episode is where I'm seeing a shift in them. Keep in
Hmm.
mind, I had not watched this before the last recap. So
Yeah. So this episode was definitely much better for them. I thought much
Hmm.
better. So they were cooking for Demi's friends, and I saw what she meant by he doesn't organize himself well, like in the
Mm.
best way. So she was already starting to make those observations. I think to
Hmm.
her they were very obvious. They stood out. I felt like she was putting a lot of pressure on him though with this guac. So I guess he's vegan, but
And
nobody else is.
I'm like, well, why couldn't y'all have had some shredded chicken or something on the side? People build nachos. So I don't know. Maybe she's just trying to show her support for
Hmm.
him. But there was kind of a delayed reaction when they handed the plate to the friend.
The friend wanted to be like, what is this?
They were like, so how's it different? Is the cheese real?
No, it was funny when she was like, yeah, because when me and James go out, we eat meat nonstop. So I know this is about to be funny. But
Yeah.
they cooperate. I like her friends, which I would expect Demi to have cool friends because Demi seems like a cool
Yeah.
girl.
But yeah, then the friend asks about, have y'all discussed the future? They say, yeah, we've talked about kids. And then they go into how he's open to adoption because his mom was adopted.
Th-
Um,
this was another moment where someone got cut off that I wish we would have talked more about, or they would have
mm,
just let, because Demi interjected and was saying what made her feel comfortable about him initially was that he was open to adoption and, brought up the concern that not everybody is able to physically,
mhm.
and so I just wish you would have let him say more about all the discussions they'd had about the future because I'm curious and I'm sure the friends
Right.
were as well.
Yeah, because I think up until this point, we haven't seen many conversations of of that depth with them so
Hmm.
far. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but he said having these conversations with her friends makes him feel closer to her. So I said, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated that the friends gave him a chance. Obviously,
Hmm.
he had a bad interaction with her friends who are a part of the pod squad. And so
Right.
maybe that added to the nerves of meeting her at home friends. I think they were you could tell they are still protective of their friend, but they were kind of saying, hey, no pressure. We just want you guys to like each other, enjoy each other's company, still have that banter. And have a healthy space. So those were the things
Hmm.
that these friends emphasized. And I really liked their vibe. I think it was a great friend visit.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh and then next. Oh, yeah, next they had a conversation with just the two of them
When
and
they were
he
laying
was
on the couch.
yeah, I think he
Yeah.
said you're lovely. I love spending time with you.
Hmm.
I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah, I feel like up until this point, and I said at our last recap, I was getting very unserious vibes from Ollie
Mm.
from the time he was in the pods, what happened at the retreat. I'm like, this guy is not serious, but I feel like these two conversations and scenarios made me start to take him serious. Like, oh, maybe he is here to
Hmm.
really find love. And
Okay.
then him opening up about his ADHD, I'm like, okay, tell us more. Like it's hard. Obviously, we're only seeing clips of you. It's hard for us to really get a sense of who you are as a person
Hmm.
on shows like this. So I don't know. I'm glad that he opened up and had this conversation, and I kind of wish it would have happened a little bit sooner.
Sooner.
Hmm.
So, I do want to
Yeah.
mention because someone in the comments said this. They said they think the reason why I was so focused on Ollie was
Mm.
because they don't have much drama this season. So they think the producers probably put it in people's ears to like make this a whole big thing.
Mm.
I could also see that. So thank you so much for your comment.
Oh,
I forgot to write down who said it, but I could
okay.
probably check during our time
Yeah,
here.
I hadn't thought of that, but that very well could be true. And we know the
Hmm.
editing gets tricky, but I'm glad to hear that he's having this conversation with her.
Yes.
He said that only a few people know that he has been dealing with this, and his ex was with him for a full year, and then he disclosed it. And so he says his case is pretty severe. She, of course,
Hmm.
reassures him. Demi is so sweet and so understanding. Um, I just I wish that before she was catching strays and feeling so unsure of herself and the
Mm.
energy she was in at the retreat, I think her knowing a bit more up front may
Mm.
have relieved some of those feelings. I would never want that for myself or any of my friends at a retreat.
Yeah.
The way she was looking, absolutely not. So, not to say that would have solved all the issues. It's just if she's already opened up to you about something serious with her, she felt comfortable enough to
To
have
let it
that
go.
discussion with you so early, quote unquote. I'm not saying that you have to match her timing, but if you know maybe social situations or different things could trigger you or whatever,
Yeah.
I just felt like, man, I wish she would have known that beforehand.
Sooner.
Not that we needed to know,
Mm-hmm.
but I wish she would have
Have
known.
known it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I even like the way that she brought it up. Hey, I noticed that, your pace, you pace a lot. I notice you're impulsive. I notice you're maybe struggle to organize. The way that she brought it up was just like her being observant and, hey, these are things that I've noticed. And I think there are several ways she could have brought it up that would have put him on the defense to not share that. But I think because she is who she is, she created a space that was maybe a soft landing for him to be able to share that. I think
Hmm.
her calmness is very admirable.
I agree. I
Said, and then
agree.
she complimented him and was like, "Well, you're beautiful with words. Like your proposal, like you organize yourself
Hmm.
very well." And his proposal was very beautiful.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I really appreciated this whole moment, both her compliments to him and his compliments to her, which it seemed to be more of an even playing field at this stage.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Jasmine and Bobby.
Oh yeah, so they sit down for takeout, I
Was this
think.
a lot to you?
What do you mean?
This whole scenario, like all the things that she had done. Bobby handles it very well. He seems very unbothered,
Oh, as
but
far as her level of insecurity with the social media,
searching his name on YouTube, seeing a video he had
yeah.
posted some years ago, and
I
and was that not too much? That
it,
wasn't a
it was
lot.
intense and her bringing up the video, why if he was a model or he did that type of work, it has
Hmm.
nothing to do with you. It seems like she's been through a lot. She says, "Oh, if you have any skeletons, firecracker Jasmine will come out." I have empathy for her in that when you've been through a lot of distrust, it
Hmm.
puts you on the defense, but at the same time, you could end up shooting yourself in the foot with this guy who has no intentions on doing anything wrong. You could scare him off because the underlying tone is kind of threatening a bit. She's not threatening him,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, the firecracker is in there. You better be right or it's gonna come out. So I think it was a bit too much. But
Yeah.
I will say, in our day and time, I understand why people feel the need to be checking DMs. People are way more accessible. I think it's kind of crazy behavior, but I also think if there's a feeling there and you feel the need to check, you might just find something. I just think it's easier for people to hide their mischievous behavior. So,
It reminded me of how hard she came at Ollie, and a large part of
hmm
me feels like there was some projection going on there.
hmm
Now that we know all the things that she's been through and the extent to which it affects her.
and how she called out Demi being insecure, that may have been triggering for her too. She sees herself in Demi in a slightly different way. Demi may be insecure for different reasons, but that's a connection I see.
And I think Demi's calmness about it ignited her firecracker because, like, oh,
Mm.
if she's going to be calm about it, then I have to represent us, the insecure and the ones who've been done dirty. So it just made me think about the previous episode and the projection.
Yeah, I said this is going to get exhausting over time. He does try to reassure her, but
She was pleased with it, but I was just like,
yeah,
I don't know. I want more of Bobby's confessionals. I want to know what he's thinking about this stuff because I feel
we
like
know
we don't
nothing
know
about,
him. We know nothing.
we know nothing really about them as a couple.
Couple, except that she's
So,
insecure and her mama and who her mama is. Like that's all we know once we get there. Okay.
yeah.
Let's do the other three. Tom and Maria. So they're
Okay.
trying to move past the job thing, and then they talk about meeting her parents, and then they actually go to
Hmm.
meet her parents.
They do.
What do
Her
you think
sister.
about her shutting down PDA before they went? Like, oh, we don't really do PDA. Like, girl,
I'm glad she had the talk.
you better tell your mom not to watch this show. Because remember when Ollie was saying, like, look at Tom and Maria, we're not like that. There was PDA. PDA was running amok.
Yeah,
Like,
but it could be one of those things where, and I'm not aware of the culture, but when it's
hmm
in person, when you're at their home, I'm not
hmm
sure of the in and outs, but I'm glad she told him beforehand.
beforehand.
And I kind of took that as, oh, okay, she's covering him, wants to make sure that he's presented in the best light. But
hmm
then something she did while he was with the family was like, Maria, are you covering him? Are you?
I think I know what you're gonna say
Yeah, so
when
I,
she
I appreciated
suggested.
her telling. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I
When she
appreciated it.
suggested things weren't going well. So she meets the family. I think her sister Salma is beautiful,
Hmm.
and she wears colors that suit her very well. I will say
Hmm.
her outfits always complimented her very well. I think she also had a good sense of humor. The family just seemed very warm and loving,
Hmm.
and I appreciated that meeting. Um,
Yeah. There's
was there
still a
any?
lot of sensitivity around the dad being gone. That is just
And I
so
can hear
sad.
it.
I'm sure that there may be this sense of like maybe not having closure, like the way it happened with COVID and then
Hmm
him being all
hmm
the way back there and them being in London. Like
Yeah.
it's long ago, but not really when you maybe haven't had closure in the way
And
that
we don't
most
know when
people
this
are
was
able
recorded,
to.
probably 2022. So that would have been
Yeah.
2 years, if that, depending on when in
Yeah.
2020 it happened.
But
Um,
yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed the sister. She means business. She's answering the right questions. It was a good balance of we're taking this serious, but we do want to make you feel welcomed. I feel like sometimes some families and friends they sway too far in one
on each
direction.
side. Hmm
They're like too nice and too gullible and naive and just buying into everything. And then sometimes they're way too harsh and off-putting to where you're like, is this even a family I want to be a part of?
Right. Yeah, because even when he asked the mom, about her blessing. She said, well, there's still a
Hmm.
lot that we don't know, but yeah, I'll go ahead and give my blessing. Then when the sister said, well, are you snobby and judgmental? So that was what Miosha was talking about when, they talked about someone being judgmental, and then Maria kind of side-eyed Tom and said a few days ago he was acting a certain way about the job situation. They didn't need to hear that, in my
No, they did
opinion.
not.
Or
Mm-mm.
if they did, because sometimes you want to run it by someone. If she wanted to talk to her sister about it, maybe privately, but in front of your brother, your mom, and your sister and your niece, like, it's a little bit
Yeah,
much.
that definitely was not the setting. And if I were him, I think anybody would have felt uncomfortable
Hmm
in that moment because him sharing that with her was in the safe space of just them two,
Yeah.
and they're still trying to sort things out. I don't know if it needed to be said. When him and the sister were in the kitchen, she asked him if if you feel like there's anything you need to work on. I wrote that he didn't answer the question.
He
So
did
unless
not.
it was the editing, he just jumps in to talk about being how empathetic he is. And I'm
Mm,
like, but you never answered the question. It felt like he was deflecting.
he was
Um,
dodging it. Have you seen Lil Kim do that dance? That was Tom with the question.
yeah,
um,
it's yeah, the sister, she's not easily impressed. And I if I caught it, I know she did.
Yeah, but I do think being around her family softened him a bit, and
Hmm.
hopefully helped him to see there's more to life than what someone does for a career.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's all I have on them. I don't have much on Steven and Sabrina. They met his best friends and
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, so yeah, they meet. I think the meeting went fine. The one takeaway I have is that she says that she's willing to leave her company to start a new business in London.
I thought she had left it already, but it sounds like she's had an established career, and consulting could go positive. Could be a good thing for her.
Yeah, and but then he said that, oh, like we're not in any rush to be in the same place at one time. So
Hmm
I wrote question mark, what is this? Because this is giving different energy than what we got early on. Obviously
Hmm.
making a move to a different country is a big move,
hmm
but it sounded like you have this gym that you own that you can't relocate, and she's going to relocate to you
But keep her apartment.
but keep her apartment. I don't know. This is giving
Well,
y'all are, huh?
no, this is giving what?
It's giving just like a long distance dating relationship. Yeah, this is not giving marriage. And even with the idea of starting a family, she was the one that mentioned age,
Mhm.
not maybe not wanting to do it right away, but I don't know. I'm getting some backpedaling here.
You think so?
Mhm.
I thought it was just because of her career. So apparently her consulting is going to be in London and in Ireland, so that way she has a place to stay when she's back there for business.
Mm,
But also these people just met each other. I don't For anybody else, maybe I wouldn't say, "Oh yeah, give up your apartment." Maybe I would say give up your apartment, but for these people, you just never know. It might not work out. And I
mhm,
think they are of a certain age where they're not willing to take so much of a risk. Like you don't want to give up
mhm,
all of who you are and all of what you have to
mhm.
pursue this thing with a stranger.
Oh, I agree. The other part of me is you selected someone who lives in a different country. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's risky. I get why, but
Hmm.
it also concerns me where it's like y'all are going to be living very separate lives. Y'all are
Hmm.
already supposed to be married.
Yep. So that's
Okay.
that. I hope they're able to work it out though. And then we can end for episode 7 on Nicole and Benaya, where
Okay.
they meet Nicole's parents,
Right.
which I think they're lovely people, which I would
Hmm.
expect considering who their daughter is. I think she's lovely.
So something she said where I'm like, She says she was worried her parents may have lost faith in her decision making because of the divorce. And I'm like, just because you get a divorce, that doesn't mean you're a poor decision maker.
No.
But then it made me wonder, why would she say that? And then some of the things that she's done,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, Nicole.
Interesting. I wanted the dad to ask a little bit more about Benaya's career. I felt like because he does things with his hands, the father was just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's really cool," you know. But I wanted him to ask more questions because I want to ask more questions. Can I
I
interview
know.
with Benaya and Nicole? Can I be her family temporarily and get down to the nitty gritty of what this man's job looks like for real?
Right. And what would an ideal cadence of him be being at
Mm-hmm.
home?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Her dad said something that I liked. He said, not all marriages work, and sometimes we don't all have what it takes to be married. And I agree.
But interestingly enough, after the sit down with the parents, Nicole's energy was that she felt they're definitely going to get married. So
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
is
she
that.
feels like they have what it takes. So,
All right, now going into episode 8.
hmm
So this episode, we just get a little bit on Nicole and Benaya and Tom and Maria before the
hmm
meetup. So, before the meetup, Nicole and Benaya talk about Sam, and she wants to kind of confront things and deal with them head on, give him his ring back, give him his bracelet back. I tend to be more of a Nicole type of personality with that, where I'm just like, let me just handle it and get it out of the way. But Benaya's like, we don't need to be around him. And he keeps saying, I want to protect you. I don't know if it's just about protecting Nicole. I think I think Benaya's personality is very much like I I I think of this person in a certain way, so I need you to think of them in that way. Like,
I think he also questions her decision making as well.
hmm,
I think he doesn't. I think in his mind, this
yeah.
girl got fooled by Sam, the guy that
Mm,
everybody has a sense of like something is really off here.
yeah.
I think he feels like she can't be trusted to
Interesting.
really see him for what he really is. That's how I
Mm,
took it.
okay.
Um, I will say, I think closure is fine. And I was fine with her in that moment saying, hey, I want to meet up with him to give the ring back, whatever.
Hmm.
But then what I find out later, I'm like,
I don't know. I don't know. Quickly before we get to the meetup, though, because Tom and
mm,
Maria, I mean, I guess Tom said his mom was feeling uncomfortable with the experiment.
oh,
He wants her
yeah.
at the wedding. So I don't know what was going on there, but I do just want to make sure we mention that. Okay. Should we go into the meetup?
Yes.
Okay. So There are a few things here. One, the girls are happy that Demi's happy, which is cool to see, or
Hmm.
most of the girls at least are
Yeah, they
happy.
acknowledge that their energy looks good, lots of PDA, and I said, okay, this is the first time where I'm seeing, well, not the first. I would say last episode, I'm like, oh, he's serious about
Mhm.
her, and in this episode, he's physically showing, hey, I'm serious about her. And now I will say, I don't think you need other people's approval to in terms of co-signing what
That
y'all
was one
do
of
or
the things
don't
I was
do.
thinking. Yeah.
Really, it's none of y'all's business because y'all have y'all's own issues, and people can present well, but that doesn't mean that things are well.
Okay.
So I said I agree. The PDA, all of it looks great, but it's not necessarily everyone's business. But Demi also looked happier.
Hmm.
You know, her energy was better regardless of the PDA he was giving her. She seemed happy.
I think
So,
they just need to establish themselves outside of everyone else's gaze and judgment.
hmm.
Okay, so Maria and Tom, apparently they had an argument because Maria offered to pay for breakfast and then it became an issue, which I do agree with her, where it's like, okay, early courting days, the expectation is for him. Like if I were dating, that's how I would approach it. Nobody has to agree. It seems like in culturally it might be different in other places.
Hmm.
If you're from the UK, let us know. But what I don't agree with is offering and then feeling a way about it. Like,
Because because it was a test. Once again, in the
why?
pod and up until this point, they have not talked about relationship dynamics. What will be the norm for us? What are you used to doing in terms of courting and dating? They
Hmm.
never talked about it. So that's why I think he said he paid for dinner the night before and then
Hmm.
she offered. She did that to see if he would be like, no, babe, you don't pay. So I agree with you. She is kind
Yeah.
of playing games in the sense of you shouldn't have offered if you didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
But this goes back to they never had any conversations around expectations
Hmm.
up until this point. So now she's having to test him. And she said that, oh, basically her mom would feel away if
Yeah. Or
he was seen
just ask,
paying.
how do you feel about if I were to offer to pay for a meal? And he would say, oh, yeah, go for it, pay for it. You don't have to get to the place, test him, and then get disappointed.
Something he said though, when he was talking to Benaya, he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, she expects me to pay during courtship." He says, "I've never would have thought of that," which was interesting because I'm like, "You're 38,
38.
so you would have never thought that some women's expectation would be that you would pay."
So you don't want to pay for her meals. You don't want her to stay at home with your child. Baby, you striking out. What's the third strike? Him talking to
And
Natasha.
the kicker too is that you having this conversation with Benaya of all people. Well,
Let's
we
move
still have
on.
questions on. We still have questions on like, what does this man do? Does he have a stable home?
But
So
that's gonna be like, yeah, you move in with her. She provides.
I said the fact that this is happening with Benaya is
Of
sending
all
me
people,
like, you need to go talk to
hilarious.
Steve or somebody else on the show, Bobby, somebody.
Oh man. Okay. So yeah, don't offer it if that's your expectation. Like stand toes down. Be consistent with your expectation. I would never even offer if I didn't intend
Hmm.
to. Yeah.
Or you would have talked about it. Y'all
Something.
had all this
Something
time.
other than the way it was actually handled.
Yeah.
Okay, so Catherine and Maria have a chat where she's saying she wants more of a romantic vibe with her and Freddie. So this reminded me of when she said, "Oh, he's treating me more as a friend than a fiance." And I was like, "Okay, so
Hmm.
it's not just the joking; it's maybe other things. Like he's not going crazy over her body, or going
Hmm.
crazy over her looks. Like she said, he said something like." Oh yeah, you could be naked and walk past me and I won't even notice. He probably
Hmm.
didn't mean it in that way, but I could
Hmm.
see like, oh, I want there to be more physical attraction here. I want you to, go crazy over how I look, but you're not doing that.
I will say
Hmm.
all of that could be valid, but the energy and vibe that we've been getting from Kat has been so intense
Mm,
where I could see him feeling like he's on eggshells and not wanting
to
to
initiate.
initiate anything because
Hmm.
not really sure to go left or right or
Yeah.
what to do. He's all thrown off. And are you in the most flirtatious, romantic of vibes if you feel like someone's judging you for something you did years ago? They both
Mm.
admitted things have been tense since the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
They never really bounced back. So I heard what she was saying, and I could agree that he probably was like, "Oh, let me give her her space."
Yeah.
Um, but it's probably because he don't want to get his head bit off.
Yeah, but I also see her point of wanting more intimacy. I think just based
Well,
on the way,
be nice to him.
right, based on the way things have gone, I do think there is maybe one step that she needs to take to establish that as well. Like she's seeing it as it's all on him to establish that, but I think there's something that she might have to do.
I
Okay.
agree.
So I love that when the other guys from the pods were asking Ollie like how he and Demi are doing, he was like solid. That's what we love to see. And he said, of course, when he said this, I was like, oh Lord,
He
something
take
about
one
to
step
happen.
forward, he take two steps back.
And then he did try to take a step forward, but I was like, I don't know if I believe you now. But he said, I
Mm.
don't think another girl could catch my interest at this point. Then Charlotte walks in. Charlotte,
Charlotte
Charlotte
bad.
is best supporting actress at this point. She over here messing stuff up and probably completely unaware.
It got everybody pressed. Even Freddie was like, "Yeah, she's attractive."
He said it multiple.
Hmm.
That was not funny. I shouldn't laugh at that. Okay, so Charlotte walked in. I was like, oh Lord, what's about to happen? So obviously he thinks she's beautiful. But then at the end, when he was talking to Aaron, his friend from the pods, he was like, you know, looks wise, Charlotte is bad. You know, she's an
He didn't just
attractive
say
girl.
bad. She's berserk, sublime.
Berserk. Yeah, there was a B
Like
word. I
he
couldn't think of
was
that.
doing a lot. He was.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could have just said she looks nice, Holly. We're trying to root for you.
Like,
Because if I were Demi watching that back, I'm like, did you have to say all of that?
berserk. I mean,
Have that energy when you talk about me. I don't think he meant anything by it. I
no,
think it's
he's
he
oblivious.
don't know. He don't know.
So yeah, but at the end of it, he said, "I only want to leave with one person." I said, "Okay, Ollie, we'll see," because you got me a little scared. But then later on, like I saw him all hooked up on Demi. I don't think I ever
Mhm.
saw him, at least from what they showed, and they would have shown it if it did exist, because that's drama. But he was like hugged up and kissed up on Demi
Mhm.
for a lot of the night in the corner, just talking to other people. So it seems like he was on good behavior.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
so Sam walks in and Benaya is about to turn up.
He's pressed.
He was ready to fight. Everybody's like, just stay calm, stay calm. I'm
Be
like,
cool.
nah,
Be
let
cool.
him cook. Let's see what Benaya's about to do. Mr.
Mm,
Holistic, and
mm,
he gives off like peace vibes, like hippie vibes a
mm.
little bit. Okay. Do you want to talk about Freddie and Charlotte and Catherine before we go into Benaya and Nicole?
Yeah, let's do them
Yeah,
first.
let's get them out of the way. All right, so she was causing all types of trouble, Charlotte,
Hmm.
unknowingly. And so Freddie was like, he finds her super attractive. He's not quiet about it. But I will say, Catherine asked.
She did ask, and not only that, the way she was pressing the fact, first of all, she lit up when she saw Sam. And she was pressing the fact that she said it like 5 times. He looks like my ex. He looks like my ex. He
She,
looks like my ex.
she could dish it, but she can't take it.
And when Freddie said it, it's almost like she was like, I can't believe you. How dare you? She's playing games. And to me, even when Freddie said it, she asked. He didn't come right out and
He
say
did
it.
not.
So I didn't understand her being upset by that.
He probably could have
If
gone the whole
anything, he
night.
should have felt a way about her saying how much Sam looked like her ex, how she was lighting up. Then she goes to go flirt with
She's
Sam.
like spitting image. Like he really looks like, okay, girl, we heard you, but he can say she's attractive a few times. Yeah, I heard you the first time. Okay, girl, well, you asked, so you're gonna get this answer.
She
Charlotte's
just wanted to humble him, make him feel away, and then, Yeah, she bit off more than she could chew in that moment. Freddie didn't mean anything by it. And I said I feel bad for Freddie. Now he's feeling insecure.
Because at the end with her flirting with, and she was straight on flirting like, oh, this is the ring I wanted. And he was, I don't know if he could hear because they were obviously in
Mm-hmm.
a bar type setting, but he wasn't that far away. So she's over there cackling with
Mm-hmm.
him, touching him. Can I have this man's ring? And you look like my ex. Making plans to hang out because they're both around. Like, I don't know if this at this point she was doing it because she felt slighted by him talking about Charlotte's looks, or if this is something that she plans to pursue. But either way, I don't like it. Like, grow
Mm-hmm.
up. If you don't want him to say that he's attracted to somebody else, don't ask. I I don't care who anybody is attracted to. Like, as long as we know, like, it was just a lot. I think
She baited him.
she did.
That and Freddie, I think he's still learning. He's catching on though, but he's still learning at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. So, all
let's
right,
get to Sam.
to Sam.
Hmm.
So Sam tries to talk to Benaya, and I guess he feels like he gets a cold shoulder. That's what he's telling Ollie.
Hmm.
He's like, oh, I can't figure out why he's giving me the cold shoulder or whatever. And Ollie tries to break it down to him and be a boy, but I don't think Sam really cares. So he goes and he talks to Nicole. I think
Hmm.
Nicole is very aware of surroundings. Like, the way she handled it was very unemotional.
Hmm.
She was kind, polite, and that was it. I didn't see herself getting riled up, even when he tried to rile her up with the whole, yeah, like when you tried to sleep with me, and she kind of corrected it, but didn't go too deep into it.
Hmm. I never caught on that she corrected it.
She did. Well, you tell me what you thought, and I'll tell you what I thought was the correction.
Yeah, so they were talking about, she was basically saying, hey, it just didn't work out.
Hmm.
And then he does try to trigger her
He did.
and bring up the fact of, hey, how she wanted to be intimate with him that night, but he says, oh, I wanted to be a gentleman. In that moment, I didn't hear her deny it. Now, maybe she did and it was cut out. But my first question was, how did y'all end up in the same space?
Hmm.
I'm kind of confused on this timeline because if you had the reveal, you sleep on it, you get the sense that it doesn't work out, it's not going to work out. When did y'all end up in the same space for her to have attempted to be intimate with you?
Right. So I don't know if they stay together like before we see them in Greece. I don't know if they stay together then, but the thing that I thought was her correcting it was he said twice about, oh, you tried to be physical with me. The first time he was like, and I tried to be a gentleman. But she said something about, so it wasn't necessarily about that. It was more of the physical care. Like, there wasn't a physical care,
I
which,
also wrote that she says she wanted to know if this was it.
yeah. And
So
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 she
that
said,
to me kind of confirmed it. Like she wanted, basically her attempt was to see like, okay, let me exhaust all resources or efforts. Let me see if this is it. It was almost like, let
mhm.
me check to be for sure before I call this off. And for me, that did kind of confirm like, girl,
You
there
know
was
what
an
I,
attempt there
yeah.
and that was your last ditch effort to be sure that no, this is a definite no go, which is fine. But I feel like the way that things have have been communicated to Benaya, I feel like he should know all of that.
Yeah,
He at this
I
point
don't
he should know
know.
all of
I
that.
don't know what was told to him. Probably not the sleeping together thing, but from her perspective, at least when she said, "Oh, it was the physical care," it sounds like I don't even know if this man is like into me. Because she remember
Hmm.
with the ring, she was like, "He put the ring on me, and he didn't even care that it was the wrong hand that he had put it on." And so with the physical, maybe it was an attempt to be like, "Okay, is
Hmm.
he into me? Is he interested in me?" And then him turning it down, perhaps I don't know, but perhaps felt like, okay, so he's rejecting me. He's not wanting to pursue this. Is he just here for the show? or does he genuinely want to like cuddle with me, have physical care, physical intimacy, whatever. That's kind of how I took it from her perspective, but I could
And for
totally see
me,
from his.
even if that were the case, it's
Mm-hmm.
still a bit odd that you go through this process.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to link up in Greece, but y'all kind of have this connection before you even get to that point.
But that's what I don't know. Do they link up in Greece? We see them when they get to Greece, but I don't know if they link up
Yeah.
before then because they arrive wherever they are together.
And for me, even based off of how that reveal went, it was
Mm-hmm.
so cringy, so awkward. I'm like, Nicole, so you still followed up with this guy
Mm-hmm.
to see if there was something there?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I could say I'm not surprised, but it's just the poor decision making.
Hmm.
It's not giving good decision making. To me, there was still an option to not leave with either of them. So
Yeah. I think and I agree with you like poor decision making. I think she needs to trust her intuition more, but seeing how she is, I do definitely see how she could be like, okay, we had this such a strong by their own words, such a strong connection in the pods and something must be off. Like we must be missing something. We need to get back to what that is and let me explore to see how we can get back to that strong connection. Like a wanting to like escalating the commitment to something because oh, I know I wasn't tripping about how strongly we felt about each other back then. So there must be something that's like
and
disconnected.
And she said, "Oh, I didn't feel a genuine care for me," which I believe because even in the reveal, he was talking about, "Well, what do you like what you see?" It was kind of all about him, and
Mm-hmm.
so I agree with her. I just, girl, why you decided to link up with this guy, try to push things physically, whatever it was going to be, based off of
Yeah.
everything we've seen of y'all and him,
Mm-hmm.
that was a no go. And I
Yeah.
think him exposing the fact that she tried to take things to the next level with him, I
Mm-hmm.
think was also a way for him to kind of clear his name. Because I think, not that she's done this on purpose, but it was very much a Sam versus Benaya thing, and Benaya's taken up for her to protect her. And I think Sam is just like, I didn't do anything but come on this show,
Mm-hmm.
find someone to fall in love with. It didn't work out. I don't know what's being communicated about me and if I'm being seen as the bad guy. So let
Mm-hmm.
me come on here and clear my name in that I rejected sleeping with her to have respect for her. And this girl really was into me. We really had something real. So I think he
Yeah.
kind of used that as a, oh, but see, she actually did really want me. And I
Mm-hmm.
stand by the fact she should have told Benaya how far it went and whatever boxes she felt like she needed to check with Sam,
Mm-hmm.
you should have told Benaya that. So that would have
Absolutely.
taken some of the bass out of his voice.
But I don't. I
Because
think Benaya had bass in his voice, like regardless. I think he had bass in his voice based on how Sam talked about her in the pods. Like everything that
oh
Benaya
well,
has
yeah.
said, it's been about how Sam disrespected her in the pods. So I don't know that Nicole was out here just saying negative things about Sam. It seems like her approach was, "Hey, I want that behind me." Maybe she should have said more about, hey, I did try to see how this would work out physically and it didn't work.
I think he felt a way about how things went in the pods,
Hmm.
but I truly feel like based off of how it was like a gut punch to him when he heard that she tried to sleep with him.
Hmm.
He seemed completely caught off guard. I think he still would have felt a way about Sam, but I don't think he would have addressed him if
Hmm.
if he knew that no, this girl didn't just get hoodwinked or the wool pull over her eyes. She was just as much a part of their connection as he was.
Hmm.
She tried to take it to the next level.
But I
I
feel
think
like Nicole has always said that, like there was something real there. Like even after her
she did,
conversation
but
with Sam, she came to him and she was like, I understand how you feel, but there was something real there for me. There was something real there for him. We agreed to that. Like,
I
so I
I
think
think she did, but She ain't tell that man she tried to sleep
But I
with.
even after he knew that, like when they met with his family, he was still
Mm-hmm.
saying like, so I think he just has a problem with Sam. I think he has a problem with Sam. I
Mm.
think he feels like Sam is not a gentleman because he tried to like clear his name by throwing Nicole under the bus. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think his
And he
problem
felt a
is with
way.
Sam.
He's very protective of her. He felt a way about Sam exposing her, basically,
And I
even
get
though it's
it.
not exposing, but
Yeah.
he saw it as you're talking about her business that's not
Negatively.
really yours to put out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't
I
know.
think Benaya is a personality because sometimes I have to catch myself from not being this, but where it's like if you've done someone who you could do something to me, fine, I'll get over it. If you do something to someone who I consider to be vulnerable, oh,
Mm,
it's on like Donkey Kong, like that. That to me is Benaya. So I don't think he cares who's saying what. It's never going to be
mm,
Nicole's fault. It will always be Sam's fault because he already has this
mm.
perception of Sam. But yes, she should
Yeah,
have told him so that at least he wasn't caught off guard with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like a gotcha moment, and I think Sam sensed that she probably didn't tell him either. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay. So yeah, I put Benaiah gotta let it go. He gotta understand that she just wants to be free of him. He just gotta accept it. They liked each other. All right. So then Tom and Tosh. I feel like Tosh was making she was making a case for herself. Did you feel that way?
She was telling herself. She said, "Oh, I may have lost in the pods, but you're gonna hear it all now." Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, and then he's so stupid. Why are you disclosing relationship details to her? Like he's talking about things that they had an issue with and their fights and stuff like that. Um but she was giving him reassurances that he's a great person. So it's like, oh, well, maybe Maria can't see this. I mean, she didn't say that, but that to me was the
Hmm.
underlying, like, oh, she's having these little spats with you. Well, I know you are a great person and you are this and you are that. And it's like, I see what you're
She
doing, Tosh.
senses trouble in paradise, and she's making her case. And I said, I think
Peak Misha.
Tom was taken aback maybe by Natasha's looks. I think
Mm,
he thought she looked a certain way and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go with the woman who I think may look better and who I'm also getting these romantic vibes from."
hmm.
And I think he was pleasantly surprised by how Natasha looks. Yeah.
I suppose, child, but she definitely was letting him know that she's still
I'm here.
available. Right.
Yep, I'm
And
here.
then when Maria and Tom talked about like the next day, Maria's like, so what were
Mhm.
you and Tosh talking about? He was talking about things from her perspective instead of talking about himself. Like he was like, yeah, she was saying that, she is interested in this and she is that. At no point did he say how he felt. And then him pretending that he was uncomfortable. He's like, yeah, I was just so uncomfortable with it. I didn't know how to react. You were eating it up.
Oh, he was. And maybe I'm reaching, but I wouldn't be shocked if he circled back with Natasha after this.
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
had a lot in common. They clicked, and I think not seeing her physically maybe was the part that was missing
Mm-hmm.
to give him that extra push to like take a chance on her because
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't giving flirty vibes or whatever in the
Yeah.
pods to make him more physically attracted to her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she told him she loved him. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
you he likes to be gassed up, I think.
Yeah. Okay, and then okay, this was the episode where they met what's her name's parents, Demi's parents. But anyway, Nicole and Benaya, she pretty much shut things down and said, I know what happened. He knows what happened. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I said, I do kind of want to hear your side of the story though. Like, we want to hear a
What
little bit more.
happened? We do. How convenient. Now you want to see before Benaya wanted to let it go. Girl, just move on, move on.
I think
Now,
both of them did, but he wanted her to let it go and keep the jewelry and stuff. And she was like, let me just give
mm,
him the jewelry back because I don't want
yeah.
it.
Now she wants to move forward. Say more.
I think she's
I,
she's definitely a high road person. I don't see her. talking down on anybody though. She hasn't even talked down on Sam, who she could have talked down on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Steven and Sabrina, yo, did you peep the names of Sabrina's sisters?
Oh yeah, was it Shamisha?
Lamisha, I was like, now who named her? Because the other one is Claire, so it's Sabrina,
Mm-hmm.
Claire, and Shamisha.
And Shamisha.
How?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah, I thought that was really funny. And
Mm-hmm.
I liked her mom and the questions that she asked, even though they were all very warm and inviting and stuff. The mom said, "Y'all not just about to tell me this story. Hold on, I want to hear more about you. You tell me
Mm-hmm.
who you
Don't skip the
are."
details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I think
that
the
was
meeting
fine.
went fine. I don't know. I have a lot of doubts with them. I feel like on the surface they click really well and they get along. At that age, uprooting your life, your community,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Someone has to make a move. And the question is who's going to do
I
it?
think it's gonna be her. I think it's clear that it's
Yeah.
not him because he owns the gym in London,
Yeah.
and it seems to be doing well. Okay, so at this point, I'm like, where are all these people at?
We have not seen them.
I
No
heard on the
friends.
internet, I heard on the internet that they did do a meetup with Ollie's friends. His parents live in Spain or something like that. That's what the internet said. His parents live in Spain, so they couldn't
Mm.
make it, but they definitely met his friends. And I'm like, could they have shown that to us? Because the only friend we saw was Aaron from the pods.
Yeah, and that goes back to some of the unseriousness
Yeah, I'm like,
where it's like, why you couldn't find an auntie, a godparent,
but also Bobby.
same.
We didn't see any of Bobby's people. But Bobby
I
is the
feel like
one. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Ollie, I feel like in the last two episodes has progressed a lot in terms of showing he's serious, especially after that conversation he had with Demi's dad. If
Whew.
you were playing around after this, we coming for your ass. Like
Debbie's dad looked like he could fight. He looked like he could
you
fight.
had this man in tears. He's so happy. His daughter has someone
I
now.
know.
I will say he fit right in, but after that whole spiel of I want to reassure you, I'm gonna pull you to the side. You're
Yeah.
coming with the big man energy. I need you to keep that same energy.
Don't have me walking my daughter down this aisle for you to say no.
Listen.
Anyways, so yeah, I feel like Demi acts like her dad. Like her
Mm.
mannerisms, I think are similar. But her dad ended up by saying, I like him now, but if I don't like him, she's gonna hear it. I don't know if I'll be able to show this picture of Demi's dad, but the side eye, my screen always does that.
Oh.
I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so I
Oh.
said if he's talking all that talk, he better walk it. And something Demi's dad said that threw me off. He said, "Oh well, you have four sisters, which we ain't meet them, but you have four sisters, so that gives me reassurance." I'm like,
Mm.
have you met men with sisters? Like, I don't-
Men have daughters.
it could
Does that change them?
it could go a lot of different ways. So I wouldn't
I don't know.
necessarily.
After that, I don't know. Ollie. But then again, with these shows, we've seen it. People talk a good game.
Yeah.
Sometimes their actions don't match up, and
Hmm.
we can only go by what we're seeing as the episodes unfold. He's made progress. I just have doubts. I want to see his family, his friends, no coworkers, nobody.
And so that's what they're saying. They're saying they cut his family and Bobby's family, or his friends
Yeah,
and Bobby's friends.
but they
So
were able to go all the way to Belfast.
and that was
Okay.
they were like, oh yeah, they had already gone to Sabrina's home and Freddie's home, which I don't know where Freddie's people live, but
Mhm.
like okay, so why they couldn't make a trip for Ollie's
Yeah,
if they
Spain
had
is
the
not that
budget?
far. Hmm.
Anyway, I don't like
Okay.
it. I hope
Um,
I hope that's just the case, and they didn't just not meet all these people and not address it, because usually on these shows, if someone's parent isn't willing to come on or someone's family isn't willing to come on or their friends whatever, they will
mm,
address it on the show, but they never did. And so that, I think, maybe believe what I've seen on the internet, but you guys let us know in the comments if
mm.
they didn't meet any of his people. unserious. Or his people don't want to be invested because they're like, he's not serious.
And
Okay.
of what we've seen of him up until episode 5, it was or 6, it was giving unserious. So I don't know. To be continued.
Okay, so Catherine and Freddie, there's just this last thing for episode 8 where she said she's sassy because she was adopted, and it was a response to how she grew up and being bullied and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. She said something about, I don't need to change anything. Did it feel to you like Catherine was trying to convince Freddie at this point?
hmm At this point, it sounds like she's trying to convince him that the differences that they have
Aren't
aren't as
major.
big as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's worrying too much or he's making a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But he's snapping into reality because he told her, because she did
Prenup.
say like, oh, I want to change because I want to change, but I don't need to change. Then he tells her like, hey, it's easier said than done to change
Mm-hmm.
your behavior.
Yeah.
Basically saying like, I need to see the real work being put in. I think he sees that she's a bit mean spirited, and his eyes
Mm-hmm.
are opening up to it.
Period.
While she wants him to be a sure yes, only because she doesn't want to be embarrassed on decision day.
Yeah. What did you think about him
Um,
bringing up the prenup,
I think it was totally fine.
especially with
This
how they've met? Yeah.
Yeah, this situation is not normal. Because he works as a funeral director, he sees death every day. He sees people whose stuff isn't lined up. So it makes sense that he wants to have his ducks in a row. And I'm not saying that she should sign it without any changes, because if you're together for
Protect
however
yourself.
long you have kids, you build a life, things need to be addressed and adjusted. But
Mm-hmm.
based off of what we're seeing so far and how she's been treating him, absolutely.
All right. Episode
Nope.
9, which starts
Okay.
with Nicole and Benaya, so meeting his mom and sister, which was a
Yeah.
perspective that I thought was really good to get because
Yes.
we've only seen it from Nicole's side. But if you're the mom and the sister, and this man came home crying, he wasn't himself, he wasn't eating, if it was as dramatic as they made it seem, I
hmm
might have a few hands for her.
And I think it probably was. And I was glad to get this perspective too, because I was questioning in the pods, like, why did he have this sudden change? And it confirmed for me that, oh, wow, he actually did have feelings for her. He was really invested. He
Yeah.
just maybe wasn't articulating it in a way that she felt comfortable with moving forward. Sam
Hmm.
had all the right words at the right time,
Yeah.
whereas Benaya wasn't giving that energy. And so that confirmed for me, wow, he was really bent up about losing her. So
I
he's really
mean,
into this.
or his mom and his sister are paid actors because
That
the way that
too.
mom cried, I was like, oh gosh.
I know she
Uh,
was really torn up.
right.
It was
So,
kind of awkward at the beginning. I'm like, ooh.
because as a family member, Nicole isn't necessarily seeming like a good choice. She had a divorce, she had the Sam thing. Like up until now, I was concerned about Nicole, but imagine being Benaya's family. I would be like, why are you back with this woman? She could seem very
Mm-hmm.
wishy washy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but the sister said that he needs to move on from the Sam thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The family always says, "Oh, I've never seen them like this. I've never seen them love somebody like this." Like they always be
But y'all
letting
never
that
see
lie.
Benaya, so
And that was one thing that the sister brought up that I feel like is starting to give Nicole pause because she's like, "Yeah, we never
mm-hmm.
see him."
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I
something
don't
you'll
know
have
what
to live with. He's a nomad. We never know when he'll come back. And I don't know if you can change that.
mm-mm.
So, yeah,
Papa's
but they did like Nicole. The sister said that, no, the mom says she's honest. She's a sweetie pie. She said a whole lot of positive things about her.
mm-hmm.
And then the sister also feels that way. But I don't know. Nicole says she's worried that Benai will feel trapped. And I feel like he might because now you have to tell me when you coming back. Book that return ticket. Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Freddie and
Okay.
Catherine. So they were meeting the friends. I felt like this
Mm-hmm.
meeting went awful with Catherine's friends. I think Freddie was
Terrible.
being very honest, and maybe she didn't want him to be as honest as he was being.
That, and she's still in Delulu land about
Hmm.
how big their lifestyle differences are, but the friends were catching on to it. They agreed.
Hmm.
I mean, she has this lifestyle of how she spends her time, maybe her money, and he's just calling out how he's different. And
Hmm.
he doesn't maybe want to be dragged along.
Yeah.
into a lifestyle that isn't appeasing to him, and vice versa. She's like, I don't want to be a hermit crab in the house all the time. I want to be social. But yeah, I think the friends were catching on to this is not going to work.
They very much were. Because it seemed like even at some point they tried to convince him, like, oh, stop worrying because Kat doesn't do this every day. And I'm like, maybe he should have held back a little bit with the friends. But he wants it to be out there, and I can't fault him for that.
And she keeps saying, I want to know. I want to know before that day. I want to know. Well, he's telling you
She
that he's
doesn't
not.
want she doesn't want him to have any doubts, but that's not realistic in this process.
She even snaps at him while talking to the friends. You keep saying that. That's why I keep snapping.
It's like, no, stop snapping. You're an adult. You're an adult. Control yourself. Control yourself.
Yeah.
No, then her friends said they think he's controlling because of the whole prenup thing.
And they brought up valid points about, okay, if you build a life together, but y'all aren't at that point. You haven't done it yet.
Just met.
And from what we've heard from him, he's presented the prenup. She could take it to a lawyer, have them tweak it, have
How
certain
she
things
wants it.
added, taken out, whatever. Then she mentioned something about his house will be going to his sister. Yeah, that makes sense. Y'all just met. So
And
you
he
think
has
you're
a
going to
little
marry?
right. And he has a little brother who might need to be taken care of. Like he wants to make sure his family's okay.
Yeah, the prenup thing, I don't understand why it's a big deal. And she would be moving into his house. I agree that she want to make sure her future is secured. But
Secure.
right now she lives with her parents. And so I think for him, he's just making sure that he's not going to be taken advantage of by a person that he doesn't know and hasn't have had enough time to fully vet their character. Because keep in mind, he hadn't met her parents yet. So,
And even when he did, I don't know. So when they did meet her family, her parents said that she looked a lot happier. So I think when Catherine saw not Sam, when Catherine saw Freddie's home, I think it started to click to her that this is a way out of her parents' house. And I think that's why she started to try to convince him. But her family's like, oh, you look a lot happier. And then, of course, she keeps saying she doesn't think their lifestyles are different. The mom thinks they'll be a good blend because she and her husband are a good blend in their opposites, which we don't know this at all. I did agree with Kat at the end, though, because she said something like, okay, I'm not going to put any pressure. If he's going to come to it, he's going to come to it on his own. And I think that's all you can do.
I will say for me, the differences aren't just the lifestyles. I think Catherine has a lot going on in terms of her insecurity, maybe some things that she's still dealing with from the adoption. She's admitted maybe still dealing with some trauma there. And so I think for Freddie, he's trying to figure out, is this something I want to take on? So I think it's the lifestyle difference, but it's also much more than that. And we're at episode 9, and we've seen nothing but this girl kind of try to humble him and bring him down a few notches.
Yeah.
I don't know that it makes sense to pair yourself with or feel super confident about pairing with someone who's been on that type of energy for 8 episodes,
Yeah.
9 episodes at this point. They just went to the house. So,
Absolutely. Okay. I think that's it
yeah.
on them. Do we want to move on to Jasmine? Let's move on to Jasmine and Bobby. Uh, okay. So when Jasmine was talking about her mom, I said, oh, Jasmine's mom sounds like Jasmine. It sounds like, because her mom goes through the call logs and was calling guys and telling them not to mess with her. I'm like, okay. So
So this has been going on for a while.
they both got the FBI spirit in them. Like, that was passed down. And then she says something about, she says hurtful things and that's just how it is. And it's like, if you want to accept that from your parent, that's fine. But I don't think it's fair to expect someone else to accept that from your parent.
It sounded like Jasmine was prepping him to be prepared to be on the receiving end of some BS because she can't control her mom.
Yeah. Moms
Yeah.
like that can't be controlled. All right. So the mom comes in. She barely
Whew.
wanted to hug the man. Like she she ignored him for as long as she could because he was the one who opened the door and had arms wide open, and she just kind of stood there.
Which is so awkward, just standing there, staring. She said she was shocked. I get it, but the energy was so off-putting.
I
Oof.
I felt like her concerns that she stated were the most realistic for a parent visit. But I think it was, oh God, there were some things that were just very mean. So she asked about his previous relationships, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't had a lot of serious relationships," which maybe he thought was a positive thing. Like, "Oh, I haven't gotten, I haven't been out there and committed to so many people so many times or whatever." But she saw that as a negative. She's like, "Oh, so you're not serious." I think
Not
how
only that, she asked him how many.
Yeah, I think however he would have answered that question would have been the wrong way to answer it.
Yeah.
And then she asked about education, which I know for a lot of parents is a big deal, right? And when when he said he wasn't, she was like, "Well, it's better to be with a person who has an education because sometimes uneducated people don't communicate well." And I'm like, "Sister, I got news for you. The educated man, they don't be articulating stuff or communicating properly either." So I think a man who wants to communicate will be a man who
I,
wants to communicate. Or
I was with her up until that point.
yeah,
It makes sense. Parents want to make sure, oh, you're with someone who can
economically.
look
Yeah.
right. Makes sense, but you didn't have to take it that far.
To they can't have intelligent conversations or they can't communicate. And then she said, I've had two failed marriages. Okay.
So you know what's best.
Okay. I was like, I wonder what the storyline was there. But when he talked about possibly living far away, and she's like, "Oh, you can't do that
Even that energy of what you're going to tell this man what he can and can't do.
with
You're not
him
in this marriage,
at all."
but she is though. And Bobby, I hope you're paying attention. I can't say Jasmine will ever be able to reel her in, but
I
as
don't
of
think
right
she's
now,
trying to. Like she made one attempt, but I think I don't think Jasmine is in a place where she realistically understands how much reeling in needs to happen. And that's one of the things that concerns me. I don't think she realizes how much she'll have to set boundaries with her mom about this. And I'm also concerned about Jasmine's mom thinking they're friends because she's like, "Oh, she doesn't hide anything from me. If there's anything she needs to tell me, like, you have to tell me." And Jasmine's like, "Yeah, but I don't want to tell you everything because then that'll make you think of him negatively." And she's like, "No, but you still have to tell me." It's like she doesn't have to tell you what she doesn't want to tell you. She doesn't have to tell you stuff that's gonna jeopardize their relationship or your relationship with him. Stop being so pushy.
I'll say whoever marries Jasmine, whether it's Bobby or not, is going to be married to that mother. And if I were a person observing this type of dynamic, I would leave it right where it is. I don't care how amazing the person is.
Hmm.
Them finding their footing in terms of boundaries with their parents is something that they need to do independently. Otherwise, you're going to be put through the ringer as they learn how to do it.
I think that was my issue. So it's not even so much that he can't be with a person like that. I think it's that Jasmine doesn't realize the extent to which things might need to be different with
Oh, yeah.
with how
Oh,
her mom
yeah.
is talking. A normal
Yeah.
mom, sure, whatever. But this is not, this is a situation where she wants to know everything that's going on in your house as it's going on. She wants to be involved. She thinks you're her husband.
And
And
she
you're
said,
not.
"Oh, I'm very much involved. We're
Yeah.
best friends. We tell each other everything. There are no boundaries." And she said something. She said, "Jasmine is my everything." Whoever gets with Jasmine, whether it's Bobby or not, is going to have to contend with that.
Or Jasmine's gonna
And
have
I'm
to
all
change
for,
things.
yeah, she would have to change. I'm all for mother daughters being close. But yeah,
There's close and then there's
Jasmine and her mom,
intrusive.
yeah, Jasmine and her mom are going to be running this marriage, and he's just going to be
Jasmine's
in a
already running
second
this
field.
marriage. Like we keep saying, we don't know Bobby. Jasmine
No.
said to her mom, "I want to choose happiness," and her mom goes, "How long will that last?" I said, "Okay, pack this up, Bobby. You better say no at the altar if you know what's up." He doesn't seem to get it because he's still talking about, "Oh, my firecracker, my firecracker." But okay, all right. And then Tom and Maria meets his sisters. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know. They talked about the whole provider thing, and his sisters seem to mostly agree with him, but understand her perspective. I
Hmm.
think their differences are too large, and they're not going to be a match.
I think for his family, it's normal
Hmm.
for maybe men not to be the provider because he said something, I think, in the previous episode where he said if his mom found out that Maria expected for him to pay for everything, she'd have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And then his sister's reactions to the whole him being a provider was like, oh, well, why is that? So this seems to be a foreign concept for them. And I just wrote, Maria, don't try to force this man down a path that he's not open to or interested in.
Yeah.
Want the lifestyle that you want, but seek someone who's in line
Interested
with
in that.
that.
Hmm.
And same with him. Don't try to force her to be a career woman if that's not what she
She
wants to
desires.
be. So, why are y'all not talking about this in the pods? I don't understand.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to run through dress shopping so that this video doesn't
Yeah.
get too long. But dress and suit shopping, again, Ollie is there with Aaron from the pods. None of his friends show up. And that
Yeah.
had me questioning. Maria cried because she admires Tom or whatever. Freddie is talking like he's very unsure. And I think it's going to be a no for him.
As it should.
Yeah. And then I
Hmm.
appreciated Demi talking about seeing a good model of marriage with her parents. Love that for her.
Hmm.
Okay. Kat and Freddie have a pottery date. She talked to,
Yeah.
she talked about how her mom's jaw was on the floor when she came out in the dress, and I think she's setting it up so that Freddie knows I want your jaw to drop. Like this is the reaction
Yeah.
I want when I
And
walk in.
how big of a deal this is because she said something about I want to be happy at my wedding.
Hmm.
I want to be sure at my wedding. I don't want to feel uncertainty, but girl, that's not the process that you picked.
Picked.
You should have taken the traditional route if you really wanted to be sure.
Yeah. All right. Demi and Ollie had the arcade date, which I'm happy
Yeah.
for her. I really just I'm happy for her. I love seeing her happy. I'm scared for her as well. All right.
Yeah, it's a toss up with them too.
And then Maria and Tyler, they talk like they're locked in, and I'm like, maybe there's something we're missing, but that is all that I have on this episode.
They talk like they're locked in, but the big difference is the difference is too big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she
Mm-hmm.
mentioned something just to go back about not wanting to pay his mortgage. And
Yes. Oh yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
we missed that. And I agree with her. It doesn't make sense. Like maybe go buy a home together or figure out what that will look like. But for
Or
her to move in your home
right, I'm not paying your
and
mortgage. I'm saving my money. Like you can
yeah,
afford your
and then
mortgage.
you walk away after 10 years with nothing to show for it. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they go get a new place together. I'm not sure how that works,
I'm
but
not moving
I
into
agree
your
with
place
her.
and paying 50-50. Like you got a mortgage that you can't afford. You have an income that allows you to afford it, Mr. High executive or high PR executive, whatever, high powered PR, whatever it was that he used to describe himself. There's no need for me to come in here and I'll help with the groceries.
Yeah.
At this point, but you have a you're solidified.
Girl, good luck with that cuz he don't even want to pay for meals. Tom want a roommate. He may just need to circle back with Natasha. She had that whole independent woman vibe going on. This may suit her well, this scenario, which is fine.
There we go.
But with Maria, someone, either
Culturally,
one of them would have to have a major compromise.
culture shift,
And
honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
But you guys let us know in the comments what you think. If you've gotten to the end of this video, please make sure that you are subscribed and make sure you give this a thumbs up. And we will see you guys after the next episodes drop. Until next time, bye.
Bye.